Okay, so the previous video was about comparing Suki from True Blood to Bella Swan in Twilight. So this video will be not about that. It'll be about them talking to me, the voices. It'll be about AI cloning. I woke up and you can see this side of my face is swollen. You see right here where the sinuses are. So when they're talking, their whole I'm going to tell you what they're talking about and how it relates to everything that I'm saying. They said that they're trying to predict my behavior by coming up with a personality assessment so they can clone me and then put me in different situations, which goes back to what I'm saying. That's a predatory system. We already now know that cloning is predatory. They use actual people to create clones and they feel that it's okay. It's not. Surveilling me in order to prey upon me and then put me in different situations to figure out how I would do in those situations is another predatory system. So they said, why do you compare us to vampires? That's the whole point. You're feeding off my humanity. If your AI and your computer systems had humanity, you wouldn't need mine. The reason a vampire needs blood to live is because the vampire is dead. So the body is no longer making any of those natural human fluids. When they said they just said something now. They said when they say it before me based on what I would normally say, then I have to switch up what I'm going to say. Otherwise, they'll cut me off or punish me. That's what I'm saying. They're not logical. So they just said, what about our irrational worries? I'm now on your irrational thoughts. I'm telling them that. If you're trying to clone me and you want to know what I'm going to say before I say it, and then you punish me for saying what your computer says I'm about to say, then you're not rational. That means your computer got it right in that moment. So what you're going to now do is try to say, no, my computer had it wrong because you said something different. No, wouldn't you want your computer to have it right? But let's go back to the idea of a vampire. So when we're talking about someone who's dead and needing the human body in order to stay alive, that is a vampire. So if you don't produce your own blood and you need someone else's blood and you need enough of it to stay alive, you are a vampire. If you can't live other than to use a human being to live, you are a vampire. And that is a predator. And we already heard in Twilight, Edward admits that he's a predator. And what I'm saying about how that relates to this system is that in order for AI clones to work, they need humans. They need our faces, they need our mannerisms, they need our voices. I was watching a video and I'll link it where a reporter's voice was cloned and they used the word inflection, meaning how he speaks, not just the words or the tone, which is what they were upset they got that wrong, but the inflection. So there's another video where someone who is able to explain what an inflection is, and I'll link her video there too. So AI actually needs to feed off us. It needs our humanity. So when we're talking about these types of people trying to use me in a clone, to clone me and then put me in situations, they actually need me. If they could have done it without me, they would have. This is exposing them. And they say, well, now people know who we are. Yes. If you're proud of what you're doing, and they just said that, if you're proud of what you're doing, then you wouldn't care if people know you. You should actually want me to put your names out there because you're doing something that you're proud of. If you're doing it this way, you aren't proud of it. So they said that's how we get the voices to work. The voices don't work. I'm trying to figure out, okay, we talked about their irrational worry. So their irrational worry is being exposed, having their names out there. So that's their irrational worry. We're talking about their irrational thought process. If people knew, victims, let me just say this, if victims knew they were being preyed upon with voices, and they did, we have proof of that now. A lot of us people realize this isn't my head, this isn't my thought. You haven't cloned my thought process or my mind. But the people around them didn't know or the public didn't know, then we have to fix that. We need to make sure we keep exposing this. So they got upset because I tell people who write comments, here's new information, could you please help expose this? Because the more people understand that this is possible, and the names and how to describe it, the easier it is for victims. It's easier for me now, because once they put the voices out loud and they admit they use people's names way before I even considered doing a video like this, I thought they would just stop. No, now they've gone into a more predatory system. So, what I'm explaining is, in my experience as a victim, I logically would think, okay, the person is doing something wrong. They'll stop. No, they now attack me. Well, why would you? Let's do the thought process. Why would you attack the person exposing that you're doing something wrong? Because you don't want the world to know you're doing something wrong. So you aren't proud of what you're doing. Let's take that a step further. Okay. So once you are exposed for doing something wrong, then you're going to turn it around on me that I'm the one doing it and I don't have any of the equipment. I don't know the names of this stuff, but once I do the research and I figure it out, now you're going to try to clone my personality, the one that exposed you. Why would you want more me's? You would want less of me. And this is partly what I'm explaining. They are going back and forth. It's irrational. Something about the way they think is doesn't make sense. It's not a rational being. So do we really want rational beings preying? Wait, would we want irrational people preying on other people? And they just said something along the lines, or would we want irrational people connecting to rational people who could do a better job of preying? That's the issue. So the issue is, now that we know that AI cloning is used to connect to a crime, there's really no other reason to clone another person. Why would I need a clone of someone else's voice to call anyone else? Is there a rational reason for it? No. There's no rational reason. There's no rational reason to clone another human being. Now, if you want, so they didn't say this, but if you want to clone yourself so you could do something that you couldn't do as a human, but you could do as an AI, well, maybe there would be a rational reason. But I have not consented to any of this. So they said, well, we could steal that idea. You can't steal that idea because it's out loud. So what I'm saying is, whoever gave them the right to do this to me, I know they're doing it to other people. This is not this. They didn't invent this technology. That was another one of their lies. I always try to tell you when they lie. They lied and said that I'm the first person this happened with. I can't be, because someone else in the 90s filed a lawsuit and described exactly what I've been experiencing. Someone else filed a lawsuit and described this. So I'm not the first person. They didn't wait for me to come along. So what I'm explaining is that if they're copying what someone else has done, and these people have said this leads to mental illness, and from my own experience, I can tell you this looks like a mental illness. It looks like I would have been, what is the word for it? Hearing voices. I would have become irrational. I would become violent. I would start to forget things. I would start to accuse people of things. I would become part of the predatory system. They said, well, why is it that I'm not upset that I would be putting the people doing this to me in prison? That's irrational. Again, here is a, if let me put this in another way. If my irrational worry is that I would, as a victim, put the people victimizing me in prison, then I would be irrational. That wouldn't be a rational thought for me. That would be a thought for them. Thank you for watching.